Reflecting back on last Saturday, very disappointed that we didn't take advantage of a great opportunity to beat a top 25 team, get a league win on the road, and end a losing streak to a good football team. We lost it in all three phases. Defensively, we missed too many tackles in the run game. We did some decent things on defense, but didn't force enough takeaways. We lost the turnover battle. Offensively, we turned the ball over twice. We didn't finish drives. We didn't sustain things. And then special teams, we had a nice return on kickoff return, but we missed a makeable field goal. So all three areas, kind of hurt us. We weren't real surprised with what we were seeing from Boise. They're a well-coached team, and they executed their game plan. During the game, we lost Patrick Sua, and it appears that we'll probably lose him for the season. So right now it looks like Jeremiah Coleman. Luckily we have some depth at the inside linebacker position. Jeremiah's back. He's getting closer to 100%, so his reps will clearly go up. We've got another league challenge this weekend with Wyoming coming in. I think their record is in no way indicative of what kind of football team we're getting ready to face. Although they're 1-5 the last couple weeks, they've gone down to the wire with Air Force. The week before that, they took Nevada on the road into overtime and had a chance to win. Their quarterback Smith is returning freshman of the year a year ago, and he's been in and out, and so I think that's probably affected them more than anything. But they had a freshman quarterback last week, almost lead them to a victory against Air Force. So we know it's going to be a challenge. They've defensively gotten after the last couple running attacks. Stephon Johnson's doing a great job in our league, and they held him to less than 100 yards. And then last week with Cody Getz at Air Force, they really reduced his numbers and Air Force's total numbers. So we know we've got an uphill battle that we've got to play well here, and hopefully we'll have a great support from the Red Wave to get our guys going and get back on the winning track. So with that, any questions?
There's been a lot of talk about the validity of some of the penalties against your guys' defense, particularly in the first half. Do you all plan on, or what do you think about that? Do you all plan on taking any type of action, if you can take any action?
I don't know about validity. There's always conjecture on subjective calls. We obviously have a biased position, from our standpoint. At times there's some rule interpretations, and we'll send copies of those. There's a process in the league that we send the clips to the supervisor of officials, and they're very good about getting back to us, how they saw things. So it helps us in coaching.
What's the mood of the team? I mean, from the end of the game till maybe today, if you've seen some of the players, what's their mood like?
I think there's still some disappointment. We showed them the tape this morning. I think they saw on the tape that clearly there was plays to have been made that we didn't make. There's always, maybe a half dozen to a dozen plays that are key plays in the ball game, and unfortunately most of those were made by Boise. And it wasn't any one play, any one individual. It was spread out over the team, and so there's a sense of disappointment. We come back this afternoon, all of our focus turns to Wyoming and trying to remain undefeated at home. So I think that will change as we come back this afternoon. As coaches, we're going to demand it changes once they get on that practice field.
Rashad Evans didn't get a chance to maybe get in a rhythm himself in this last game. Was it what Boise State's defense did, or maybe the situation didn't provide for him to, make some plays?
I know he had a couple of catches. I don't know exact stats that he had. They did a good job of rerouting receivers. They did a good job of pressuring Derek. We've got to, trust, the protection more. Derek's got to be able to trust our receivers going to run the routes the right length. When you have some doubt in there, it doesn't look right. And clearly we had that happen on Saturday, and we've got to get that cleaned up this week, where there's absolute trust between the quarterback and the line, between the quarterback and the receivers, and guys are holding up their end of the bargain so that trust can be universal.
BJ asked about the penalties, and you argued quite a few of them with the officials. as people would expect. It seemed like the one that you spent the most time talking to them about was the one that wasn't called, when Derek Carr was blasted in the face on that sack. Why did that bother you so much, and what would you be?
Well, again, those are subjective calls. As we saw it, it looked to us on the sideline like it was helmet to helmet. I asked the official about it, and he disagreed.
I felt like your quarterback wasn't being protected by the refs the way maybe the opponent's was.
You can maybe infer that, but I just pointed out that our quarterback was stood up, and it appeared from our vantage point that there was helmet-to-helmet contact, so I asked him about it.
You say you guys are disappointed, are they frustrated a little bit as well?
Absolutely. When you pour as much time and effort into an opponent, going in and expecting to win, and you don't perform as well as you could have, there's disappointment, there's frustration, there's anger, just disappointment that we missed an opportunity, and hopefully we can channel that into a great effort this week in practice, knowing that, hey, it was there for the taking, we didn't take it, but we need to do that this week if we want to have any chance of winning the conference. We cannot afford another loss, and right now, we don't control our destiny, so we've got to win out, and it starts this week with Wyoming.
How difficult of a challenge do you see this week being, trying to kind of uplift these guys' emotions right now?
I don't worry about our guys emotionally. I think it's human nature, when you play a big rival like that and you don't play well and you lose, that there's going to be disappointment. If they weren't disappointed, I'd be upset with our team, because to me that tells me that they kind of expected it. But this is football. Our guys know there's only 12 guaranteed weeks. I mean, you guys got to realize our guys work 365 days a year, and 12 days count. If you can't get jacked up for those 12 days, especially at home in Bulldog Stadium with the red wave, and hopefully we'll have a great crowd, something's wrong with you. And so I don't worry about their psyche. We're going to get after them today in practice. We're going to get after them tomorrow. Get after them Wednesday. Our guys are going to play well on Saturday. I firmly expect that.
What's your take on maybe the defense's emotion after losing a guy like Sua? I mean, how bad? Obviously, that hurts your team, but I mean, making sure that this defense stays.
I think when you lose a leader like Patrick, and he clearly is one of our defensive leaders, it can create a hole. Luckily, we've got a guy like Jeremiah Toma, who's a great leader for us too. His role goes up, his reps go up, and so anytime there's an injury, I mean, that's part of football. Somebody else has to step up, and I like our depth there, and luckily we have some depth there, and fully expect Jeremiah to fill that void in both leadership and production on the field.
Will he try to get like a medical shirt or something like that and try to?
I don't know what all the rules are for that. He's played half the season. I don't know that we'll be able to do that. We'll check it out if that's the case. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know if he's already redshirted. I have to check into that.
How has Toma been progressing? Obviously, he came in and started and gets hurt and then missed a couple games. What was that?
Yeah, well, luckily, as he came back, the first week that he was activated, he only played a few snaps. The last couple weeks, he's been adding more and more. I don't think he's at 100% yet, but he's much closer to that than he was when he first was released to come back. So he'll have to have a good week this week. But we still have Carl Nicholson, who's playing decent amount for us, and Kyrie Wilson. So we feel with Travis and those four, we feel pretty good about the inside linebacker position from a depth standpoint. And somebody's just going to have to pick up the production.
You've talked a few times about having vertical routes called but not necessarily executed. Are you seeing something consistently? Is it about the routes being run? Is it about the lack of separation of the line? Is there anything you can do?
It's a combination of things. We had a vertical route called when Derek threw his interception. Didn't make a very good read. The receiver didn't run the route great, and protection-wise, he had to step up. And I don't know if he was looking at the rush. First play of the ball game, we had 4 verticals called. I think we had, over a dozen times that we were trying to get the ball thrown deep, and it was a myriad of different things that happened that the ball didn't get down the field. And part of it was protection, part of it was route and running, part of it was reads by the quarterback.
Where are you offensively right now in terms of the pace that you want these guys moving at?
We're not quite as fast as where I'd like to be. Part of the problem is you've got to have productive plays to get that ball down the field, then you're right back up on the ball. If you're throwing the ball 50 yards down the field and it's incomplete, you've got to wait for those guys to run 50 yards back. And so those kinds of things can slow you down. If we're more productive on more downs, obviously you can go quicker, and that's what we've got to, get our offense to do, to be more consistent in producing yardage on first and second down.
What was going on late in the fourth quarter that seemed to, were they just playing prevent, where you guys can move the ball a little bit quicker and things started
No, I
clicking
think we
there?
just got into a rhythm. They were going to keep it in front, but they still ran their same quarters coverage, and they mixed in some pressures and rolled to some close middle. We just executed better that drive, and I don't know if it was a case of the tempo affecting them a little bit, or it was a case of our guys just relaxing, knowing that we were down 2 scores, and so there wasn't anything to get pressed about. Let's just go run. I liken it a little bit to the second half against Oregon, where we were more effective, and I don't know if it was because it was a couple score difference and maybe a little bit of the pressure was off.
There are 2 fourth downs on the offensive side of the ball where I wondered if maybe you would go for it. Can you walk us through those decisions on the 4th and 4th, 10 early, and then the 4th and 1, on your own side of the field, but with time running out, and your 4th and 1 at your own 29?
Well, I think the one time was it a 3-score game when it was 4th and 1, or a 2-score game?
2-score game.
It was a 2-score game, and my thought is if we don't get it, and they're in field goal range, now it's 3-score and you've ended the game. I thought our defense was playing pretty well. In the second half, I thought we controlled, the game most of the time, except for, we had the turnover on our end. Because, and every game's a little bit different.
And I was wondering maybe the strength of their defense too played into those decisions.
Yeah, clearly. They did a good job that week, and they've done a good job all year long. So you make gut calls based on your feelings going in and where you are in that game. And just at that time, I didn't want to get down 3 scores, and I thought if we don't get it, now you're really sealing your fate. Where if we punt it and we get a hole, we got a chance to get a quick score, and now you're right back in.
And the first one, when it was it
Where was the
10-0?
ball?
10-0, you're at their 10-yard line, 4th and 4, and
Yeah, we kicked
he
the
just
field goal.
missed the field goal wide left.
Yeah, well, it was 10-0, and my thought process was, we ought to be able to get that field goal and make it a 10-3 ball game. If it was 4th and 1, maybe we go for it. 4th and 4, the percentages obviously go down, and I thought, let's get it to a 1-score game. And we got a lot of faith in Quentin that he can make those. He's made, I believe, 70% of his field goals on the year. I think Gessling last year made 58%, something like that. He's 3rd in our conference in field goals made. So it's not like, he's not been able to do it. And we thought he'd make it, and he didn't, and that was part of the reason why we, it wasn't just him, but it was one of the 3 phases that didn't get it done on Saturday.
Are you starting to see a particular pattern how teams are trying to defend the spread offense now at this point?
No, everybody has their own wrinkles of things. Boise's a 4-man front. They mix in some 3-man stuff and, play quarters. They played a little bit more 8-man drop than what we had seen coming in. Before that, CSU was a little bit of, they call themselves 3-4, but we saw a little bit more even front from them until 3rd down. I'm trying to think as we go back here. Who we played before that? But again,
Did Tulsa cover the same way as Boise did?
Tulsa's structure is similar. They run a lot of quarters coverage, and they're a 4-2 team. I think the similarities between Tulsa and Boise is both of them have outstanding defensive line. You look at Tulsa's numbers sack-wise, I think they're still up leading the country in sacks. They're getting good pressure on the quarterback. Saturday, I thought Boise State's defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage, both in the run game and in the throw game. And that was probably as big a factor as there was in the game. So I don't know that's a schematic thing other than, you know, our matchups there weren't as good going. We thought we would have matched up better, and we didn't during the game.
Can you put your finger on why there's a sluggish start on the road in the 4 games that you guys have had on the road? Seems like you guys get out to a sluggish start a bit.
Part of it's the opponent. I mean, we've played a couple top 25 teams. Part of it, you know, when you go on the road, it's loud. We've hurt ourselves with dumb penalties. You know, we've taken a delay a game, which is unacceptable. We've jumped off sides. You do those type of things to get you behind schedule. It's tough to make up, and you know, the momentum of the game then starts to sway. The crowd gets more into it, and it tends to multiply.
You talk a little bit more about Wyoming. You mentioned the last 2 games been kind of tough losses. You feel they come in here and they're kind of getting better as the year goes on?
Yeah, clearly. I mean, they're moving the ball very, very well. You know, they had a 13-point lead, I think is what it was, on Air Force at the half last week with their backup quarterback. They've got some good young players. They've got a center who's outstanding. I like their left tackle. Defensively, as I mentioned, you know, they've taken 2 really good running teams and taken that away from them. And that's what good defenses do. They kind of look at, you know, hey, if they're a good running team, let's take that away from them and make them left-handed. I think they're well coached. You know, the last time we played them was 2009. We played them in the New Mexico Bowl. We got a bunch of guys that played in that game that remember losing to Wyoming. So, you know, they're a good football team. They've been able to recruit off of that. They've got tremendous facilities. We realize this is going to be a 4-quarter ball game, or at least we've got to be ready for it, because they got a team that has gone toe-to-toe on the road. It had slowed them down early in the season. They went to Austin, Texas, had a lead on Texas in the 2nd quarter. They're not going to be intimidated by going into a tough environment.
How would you assess how Victor Dean did in place with Harper?
Victor's improving. You know, he's still not where we want him to be, but his work ethic and practice has been much improved for the last probably 3-4 weeks. And you know, hopefully that'll drive Harp to want to get back out there, because I think competition pushes everybody. You know, Victor didn't like being a backup, so he's worked hard. Now he's had his opportunity. He's done some good things. We still have to get him more consistent in blocking, although he made some good blocks on Saturday. We just got to get him more consistent running routes.
Coach, you mentioned that you didn't win the takeaway battle last week. Who would you look to step up in this game against Wyoming to help win the takeaway battle?
Individually, you're asking?
Yeah, individually, and as a team overall.
Well, I don't know that we look individually at that. It's takeaways are more of a team-driven thing, and you know, part of our teaching and getting takeaways on defense is population. And population to us is busting your tail to the ball, so that if we do get something loose, if we sack a quarterback, we've got more people there than they do. And because of population, you end up, the odds go up that you'll get the ball. You know, Jennings has done a great job in that. He's gotten his tail to the ball. When balls are tipped, you get guys like, you know, Duran's been in position to make plays where he's busted his tail, you know, reading a quarterback. He had a great pick the other day. It kind of just depends on you know, who you're playing and where they're trying to attack you, more than one individual having to step up. But you know, the thing that we're fortunate, we've got a lot of guys that have the capability, if they're playing hard, to force takeaways, and clearly we're going to need them this week.
Any specific drills you're going to do this week?
Nothing different than what we always do. You know, I think our coaches do a good job of stressing the fundamentals of takeaways. We had, you know, 2 on Saturday. Unfortunately, 1 got called back because we had a penalty. You know, I think Sean Austin had the pick and made a great play on the ball. You know, otherwise we would have been tied, and I think that was a key play in the ball game. You know, if it was a 0-0 game at that point, we would have got the ball about midfield, I think. I think the momentum totally changes if we take that, have the momentum and score. It didn't happen. We got to respond better than what we did.
Well, on that note, the takeaway that was taken away, and that was one in a series of penalties where you want you guys to have their hair on fire, as you said, but maybe in the ref size they were over that edge. Did you see them backing off from that point and some plays where they weren't as aggressive as you wanted them to be?
I don't think so. you know, we're gonna try to get hits on quarterbacks. I mean, and we're gonna try to do it within the legal limits of the law. You know, as the official explained it to me, it was not a late hit. He hit him high. You know, we just differed on what that meant. You know, we thought that it was shoulder to shoulder, but.
And his hands have to be up because he's trying to block the pass protection, right?
Yeah, it's something difficult for the officials to officiate. And you know, the bottom line, they're trying to add more safety to the game, and I agree with that. We're trying to get our players to target lower into the body. I don't think any of our guys are trying to maliciously hurt somebody, but we are trying to get hits on quarterbacks and try to physically separate the ball from players. And, you know, occasionally you're going to get penalties. I didn't see, you know, our league hasn't said anything about our players targeting players. You know, I think you've got to coach aggressively to get takeaways, and we're going to continue to do that.
On Phillips roughing or flag, when the quarterback looks like he's gonna run it and all of a sudden he throws it at the last second, is he not allowed to hit him, or what was the explanation?
The explanation on that, I believe, was the same thing. It wasn't a late hit. It was, you know, the quarterback was kind of ducking, and Phillip was already in his charge, and he hit him high. So he's got to lower his pads more.
How big will that 12th man be coming off of one-on-one road trip, essentially, get back in the stadium, get some momentum early with that crowd?
It's going to be huge. You know, you look at statistically what our guys have done in our home games. I think it's a direct reflection. Our guys love playing in Bulldog Stadium and love playing in front of the Red Wave. You know, the atmosphere in the San Diego State game was electric. I mean, that crowd was into it, and our guys were into it because of it. You know, we got football fiesta this weekend. Hopefully, you know, the Hispanic population in this town, which is huge, they feel welcome to come on out to this game. We'd like to celebrate that. And I think they'll have a great time watching, you know, a new brand of Bulldog football if they'll come out and support us. And I know our players definitely appreciate it.
Anything else for Coach?